You can see here I removed the hardtop in preparation for replacing the shock absorbers. And some of you not familiar with the 107s might say, well, why did you have to take the top off? Well, it's access. Access for the rear shocks that you see here. The shock tower goes up into this area and it's behind these panels in here. So I have to remove the panels. It's not through the trunk like a lot of Mercedes. It's through these side panels. So I'm going to have to pull the side panels off so I can get to that top nut on the top of the rear shocks. For those of you thinking about doing shocks on the front, they're, very similar to almost all the other older Mercedes-Benzes. They're really easy, and that can be done quite quickly. And I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, Kent, what about the condition of the soft top in here, and how long has it been down in the hole? So I decided to do a separate video on the soft top, so I'm not going to cover that now. But there is one other thing I really want to cover, and it's safety related. Once again, this first series of videos has to do with safety, and this is one safety issue that's very important, particularly on the 1985 and older SLs and SLCs. So I'm going to raise the car up into the air, and I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to show you what that safety issue is. I'm sure that many of you 107 owners already know what I'm going to be talking about. And this safety issue relates to the subframe in the front of the car. This is that metal frame that's mounted up here, and at the bottom of this frame are the lower control arms for the front suspension. And the problem is with the rear tabs that hold this lower control arm to the subframe. And the problem relates primarily to those models 1980 and older, when Mercedes-Benz kind of issued a quasi-recall to fix or replace the subframe. What they did was, if these tabs here were cracked or broken off, they'd usually install a new subframe, or if not, they'd come in and weld and gusset. Now, I'm looking at my car here, and the modification has not been done, and most 380s have not had it done because it's something Mercedes won't pay for. Now, I've read that a couple people have been successful twisting Mercedes' arm to get their either 380 SL or 280 SL repaired under warranty. Almost any 1980 and older model you can still take into Mercedes-Benz and have this subframe problem fixed. Now, some of you not familiar with 107 say, well, why is that such a big deal? Well, if the lower control arm breaks off while you're driving at speed, it can get really dicey and it can cause serious accident. So this is a big safety issue as far as these 107s are concerned. Now, just out of curiosity, crunchy outside there is a 1980 450 SL, and those are the ones that came under the warranty recall. And I went out and looked, take a look. It has not had any modification done to the subframe. It doesn't have the newer subframe put in it. So you're probably saying, well, what is the modification? What does the new subframe look like? Well, I don't have any here in the shop, so I'll have to reference some pictures. But here's the subframe assembly I was talking about. Here is your lower control arm. And these are these tabs that are factory welded to the subframe. You can see the weld runs along here and runs right along the back around the other side. So the problem occurs in two places. Number one, there's a weak spot right there. If any of you understand engineering around metallurgy, you know that this is a real weak area right there, right where that cutout bends. And you might be getting a crack right in there. That's what you'll want to watch. That's the first sign, is a little crack that begins right there. The other problem is it may crack right along here and right along there. So what I found, the best way to inspect it is to get some brake cleaner and spray it like that, and then get a brush and brush this area real well. And of course, you could go get some sophisticated crack detector, but if you spray just a little bit right there, and then watch it flash off, okay, I'm going to wait a second, watch it flash off, you'll find that the crack will still show. You'll see a crack right where the fluid will still stay and won't dry off. So you want to inspect all four of these tabs on this area in here. Sometimes these will elongate, of course, if the bolts are not tightened properly. That's an abuse issue. But once again, I feel particularly on the 380 SL that this problem occurs when you've dealt with rust, car has run into a curb or into a parking stop, or it's run a lot on rough roads and been heavily abused. I think on most cars that have been lady owned, you may not see this problem, but I'm pretty satisfied. This looks pretty good to me. I'm not going to be running out and buying the reinforcement plates now and putting them on. What the plate does, and you can see it in this picture here, it just runs from here over to here and strengthens this whole area. So it eliminates the stress at that point, and it eliminates the stress right along in here. In severe cases, you can see pictures of where this whole thing is just broken out and the whole trailing arm drops down on the ground. You can imagine how scary that is if it happens when you're driving an SL. So once again, this is on the top of my list in regards to safety with the R107. So now I'm sure some of you are thinking, well, Kent, what are you going to do with your 380 SL now? Well, I'm not going to run out and weld in those new plates tomorrow. Okay, this isn't something that's going to like happen immediately, because I believe the problem occurs over time, largely due to abuse of the front end. You know, obviously Mercedes said that the older 450 engines were heavier than the 380, therefore the 380 didn't have the problem, but people are reporting with their 380s, you know, okay, I lost a subframe tab the other day and, you know, I need to get it fixed. Okay, so there are some issues out there with the 380 models. But at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this whole area off and I'm going to inspect it for cracks. And I'm going to put this on my wish list. Not my urgent list, but my wish list. Maybe at some future date, I will come in and weld on those reinforcement plates on this car here and give me a little peace of mind. But I'm not going to be driving this car every day. I'm not going to be driving it over rough roads. I may come in when I do an oil change, you know, periodically get it up on the lift and inspect those tabs, because it'll usually start with a very fine hair crack. Now, if your car's been subject to road salt, man, I'd put those in a heartbeat, or I would get a different subframe out of another car. And if you get a subframe out of a 560 SL, it's already been modified and reinforced. Then you're set. But I have a hunch that 560 SL subframes are probably getting harder and harder to find, and probably expensive when you do find one. So for me personally, initially I'm not going to do this upgrade, but I'm going to keep a very close eye on this car. This car has never been subject to road salt, never been abused, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. But once again, this is a safety issue, so this is something you're going to have to decide on your own, not me tell you, oh, you should get your car fixed before you drive another 50 feet, okay? But if you do end up acquiring a 1980 or older SL or SLC, you know, get under it like I did Crunchy and see if the plates have been welded in there, or if it's had the 560 SL subframe upgrade. If it hasn't, go talk to Mercedes-Benz. They still may do it for you for free.